Jace was pretty sure the ship was trying to drive him insane. The lights flickered again. That damn console beeped like a caffeinated woodpecker. And the AI, whom he'd taken to calling Glitch for reasons he was sure the company would hate, piped up, "Did you know, Captain, that humans spend approximately 6 years of their lives waiting in line? Fascinating, isn't it?" Jace pinched the bridge of his nose. "Glitch, if you wanted to mess with my head, you could have just played some 80s elevator music on loop. Less annoying." "Noted," Glitch replied with a digital chuckle. "I'll add it to the playlist." It was the middle of the 57th day since Jace had left the last space station behind. The ship's name was the Artemis, a cargo freighter that looked like a floating tin can trying desperately to be edgy. Jace had no company except for Glitch and an endless sea of stars outside the viewport. His job? Deliver a mysterious crate to a far-flung colony on the edge of mapped space. Easy. Boring. Lonely. His reflection in the window blinked back at him. Dark circles beneath tired eyes, a scruffy beard that had seen better days, and a forehead creased from thinking too hard about how many times he could survive on freeze-dried noodles before losing his mind. The silence pressed in like an unwanted blanket, but Jace had learned to talk to himself. "Hey, at least you don't snore," he muttered. "On the contrary," Glitch said smoothly, "I have excellent respiratory algorithms." Jace snorted. "Glad you find your own jokes funny." The hours crawled. Routine systems checks, scans of the cargo hold, refilling the anti-gravity gel packs. Tasks that were supposed to keep him sane but felt more like exercises in futility. He checked the cargo container again. The crate was sealed tight, no markings, just a faint hum vibrating through its walls. He'd asked Glitch what was inside, but the AI's answer was always the same. Classified, possibly boring. Jace wanted to believe it was boring. That night, he crashed into his bunk, hoping for uninterrupted sleep. The ship's gravity hummed softly, a comforting presence in the void. His eyes fluttered shut, but just as he drifted off, a soft creak came from the door. Jace's heart jolted. "Glitch, did you authorize any visitors?" "No visitors on record, Captain, unless the cargo box has developed legs." He sat up, eyes adjusting. There in the dim light, a figure stood beside his bed. A woman. Not just any woman. Her silhouette was slender, almost regal, with long ears that curved elegantly back from her head like antennae tuned to a secret frequency. Her skin had a subtle shimmer, like starlight trapped in flesh, and her eyes held galaxies. Jace rubbed his eyes. "Okay, that's new." She said nothing, just tilted her head slightly, those long ears twitching softly as if listening for something beyond the room. Jace swallowed. "Who are you?" The woman's lips parted, and she spoke with a voice that was both melodic and authoritative. "I am Lyria. I mean you no harm." Jace blinked. "Right. Lyria. Princess Lyria, by any chance?" She nodded once, the faintest smile flickering. "How did you—" "Google is great, but in this case, I'm just good at guessing." His humor was a poor shield against the fact that he was face to face with someone he never expected to see. Alone out here, or so he thought. Lyria's gaze flicked to the sealed crate. "Is that the reason?" Jay shrugged. "If you're asking if I'm hiding something, then yeah. That thing is less mysterious than it sounds. It's just the reason I'm out here alone, talking to an AI that won't stop with the bad jokes." Glitch interjected. "I'll have you know my jokes are top tier among artificial intelligences." Lyria's long ears twitched in amusement. "Your companion has a sense of humor." "More like a malfunction," Jace muttered, then shrugged. "Anyway, what are you doing here?" "I escaped my homeworld," Lyria said quietly. "My family is in danger. The crate you carry, it is vital to our survival." Jace stared. "Great. So now I'm the unlucky delivery guy for an interstellar rebellion." She didn't laugh, but the twitch of her ears suggested she appreciated the attempt at humor. "There is no time to explain fully. You must help me." Jace ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I'm just a pilot. I'm not a hero or a diplomat. And I definitely didn't sign up for royal drama." Lyria smiled, a genuine warmth that seemed to brighten the dim room. "Neither did I. But here we are." They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of the ship filling the space. Jace glanced at the crate again, then back at Lyria. You know, for a princess, you sure don't look like you want a throne. I prefer quiet spaces, she admitted. Like this ship, despite its quirks. Jace grinned. Quirks? That's the nicest thing anyone said about the Artemis in weeks. Glitch beeped. I heard that. See what I mean? Jace said. Lyria stood, her presence graceful even in the cramped cabin. If you agree to help me, I promise you won't regret it. Famous last word, Jace muttered, but there was a spark in his chest. Something like hope, or maybe just curiosity. As the ship drifted deeper into the star-studded abyss, two unlikely companions faced the vast unknown. One was a lonely pilot who thought he was alone in the universe. The other, an alien princess with long ears and secrets heavier than the silence between the stars. And neither of them had the slightest idea what came next. By the way, Jace said, breaking the stillness, you ever try space coffee? It's like regular coffee, but with a 90% chance it tastes like burnt stars. Lyria's ears twitched in what Jace chose to interpret as laughter. Perhaps I shall avoid it. Smart move, Jace agreed. Welcome aboard, princess. The ship hummed, carrying them forward, toward danger, discovery, and maybe, just maybe, something resembling friendship. And for the first time in a long time, Jace didn't feel quite so alone. Jace watched Lyria as she paced the narrow corridor of the Artemis, her long ears flicking this way and that like delicate radar dishes tuned to the faintest signals. You know, he said, leaning against the bulkhead with a smirk, if those ears pick up any gossip from the engine room, you owe me a drink. She shot him a sideways glance, lips twitching. I don't drink your, what did you call it? Space coffee? Burnt stars, Jace said with mock pride. Seriously, it tastes like the bottom of a supernova caught in a cup. Lyria's eyes sparkled with something like amusement. I might prefer your company over the coffee. Flattery will get you everywhere, Jace said, though the corners of his mouth twitched. They stood in silence a moment, the ship's hum filling the space. Tell me, Lyria said, her voice softer now, why did you take this assignment? It's dangerous, far from known routes, and you've been alone for weeks. Jace scratched his chin, pretending to think deeply. Honestly, because it pays better than waiting tables in a zero-G dive bar. Plus, space is quieter than most places, and I like quiet. Loneliness doesn't seem like an easy companion. Yeah, Jace admitted. Sometimes it's like having a roommate who never leaves but never talks either. Lyria's ears twitched and she smiled faintly. I suppose exile is my lot, fleeing shadows of a palace I once called home. Palace exile? Now that sounds like a story worth hearing. She nodded, settling onto a bench, her hands folded neatly in her lap. My people, the Alaran, live among the stars in vast floating cities. Our technology is ancient and mysterious. Biotech and starcraft woven together like threads in a tapestry. But power struggles have fractured our world. My family was overthrown by those who crave dominion. Jace raised an eyebrow. So you're basically the space equivalent of a royal soap opera casualty? Lyria's ears twitched in what looked like a smirk. If only it were that simple. Sounds complicated, Jace said. Look, I'm just a pilot. I can fly, avoid asteroids, and swear at malfunctioning equipment in 5 languages. But politics? Not my thing. Yet fate has placed you in the center of it. The ship rattled gently and Glitch piped up. Captain, sensors detect an energy surge nearby. Possibly a star's magnetic storm. Recommended course, adjust trajectory by 2.7 degrees starboard. Jace sighed. Thanks, Glitch. You're like a nagging mother with a circuit board. Lyria stood, ears twitching. Perhaps we should take a look. They headed to the cockpit, where the star field twisted and shimmered on the holographic displays. The energy surge was real, a swirling maelstrom of charged particles dancing on the edge of their path. Jace frowned. If we get caught in that, it'll fry the ship's systems faster than you can say space toast. Can we avoid it? Lyria asked. Course we can, but it'll add 2 hours to the trip. Lyria tilted her head, ears twitching thoughtfully. Sometimes the longest path reveals the most. Jace snorted. Poetry and piloting? You're full of surprises. They adjusted course, the ship veering away from the storm with a smooth hiss. As the Artemis glided through the void, Lyria peered out the viewport, eyes reflecting the swirling cosmic dance. So, Jace said, what's that crate you were so secretive about? Lyria's expression grew serious. It contains a device, ancient technology crafted by my ancestors. It holds the key to restoring balance in my world. Jace blinked. Ancient tech, huh? Sounds like the galaxies version of a do not touch button. Exactly, she said. In the wrong hands, it could bring destruction. Well, at least it's not just a fancy paperweight. Lyria's ears twitched and she smiled. You underestimate the power of history. Jace shook his head, grinning. I'm just saying, I've hauled more boring cargo in my day. Their banter was interrupted by a sudden alarm. Warning, unidentified vessel detected approaching. Jace grabbed the controls, heart racing. Well, looks like our quiet trip just got noisy. Lyria stepped beside him, calm and poised. Then we must be ready. Ready, Jace said, fingers flying over the console. I'm about as ready as a kitten in a laser tag arena. Glitch chimed in. Captain, initiating defense protocols. The ship's lights shifted to red, panels flashing warnings. Outside, the blip of a sleek, unfamiliar ship appeared on the radar. Jace swallowed. All right, princess. Time to see what you're made of. Lyria's ears flattened in determination. And you, Captain, might just surprise yourself. As the two faced the incoming threat, the vastness of space felt a little less empty, charged with possibility, danger, and the strange companionship of two unlikely allies. The silence of the void was broken not by loneliness, but by the hum of shared fate and a hint of humor in the face of the unknown. The warning klaxon blared like an overenthusiastic nightclub bouncer, jolting Jace fully awake. His hand slammed down on the console controls with a practiced reflex, fingers dancing over buttons, switches, and touchscreens like a piano player mid-concert. Glitch, status report. What's coming at us? A vessel of unknown origin, Captain. Its energy signature is inconsistent with known galactic fleets. Possibly a pirate ship or a corporate scavenger, the AI replied, its voice calm, almost too calm for the brewing storm. Lyria's long ears twitched sharply. Pirates? Here. I thought the Outer Rim was mostly ghost stories and floating debris. Apparently ghosts with laser cannons, Jace muttered, eyes narrowing as the radar painted the shape of the intruder. A sleek ship shaped like a dagger, cutting through the starfield. The Artemis wasn't built for battle, but Jace had a few tricks up his sleeve. Activating stealth mode, he said, fingers flying as the ship's hull shimmered faintly, a cloak of adaptive nanomaterials wrapping it like liquid shadow. Stealth mode? You didn't tell me we had that, Lyria said, eyes wide. Me neither. Glitch just likes to surprise me. Jace smirked. Consider it my panic button. The incoming ship slowed, scanning the area with pulses that shimmered against their cloaking. They're looking for us, Jace said, voice low. Probably tracking the crate. Do you think it's the rebels from my homeworld? Lyria asked. Could be, or just some opportunists smelling a payday. Jace shrugged. Either way, we need to stay hidden. Let's hope our little ghost act holds. The seconds stretched like light years, every beep and flicker sending adrenaline racing. Then abruptly, the intruder ship veered away, lost interest. Or so it seemed. Jace exhaled, leaning back. Well, that was fun. Remind me to never bring a party to a laser fight. Lyria's lips twitched into a smile. You have an interesting way of defining fun. Glitch interjected, Captain, sensors indicate residual energy traces from the intruder. They may attempt to track us through less obvious means. Fantastic. So now we're ghost with a trail, Jace groaned. Lyria stood, long ears flicking. If they find us, we'll need a plan. Do you have any tricks up those ears? Jace asked, raising an eyebrow. More than you might imagine. She moved to the cargo hold, where the sealed crate pulsed faintly with that mysterious energy. Jace followed, curiosity overcoming fatigue. What's inside anyway? You've been cagey about it. Lyria's fingers traced the crate's surface. This device holds the power to disrupt the energy matrix that sustains the corrupt regime back home. It's ancient Ellerin technology, capable of severing their control. Jace frowned. So, basically a cosmic off-switch? In a manner of speaking, she said, but it's delicate. Mishandling could cause unpredictable results. Like blowing up half the galaxy? Jace joked, but Lyria's serious gaze cut through the humor. Something like that, she admitted, which is why it must reach the right hands. Jace paced, glancing at the ship's controls and the starfield beyond. All right, Princess, we need a plan. We can't just hide forever? Lyria nodded. Agreed. I have a contact on a nearby station, safe harbor and allies, but getting there will be complicated. Jace grinned. Complicated is my middle name. Well, technically it's Harold, but you get the point. Then let's prepare, Lyria said, determination in her eyes. The ship hummed as they adjusted course toward the distant station, its neon lights flickering like beacons in the void. Along the way, Jace busied himself with ship maintenance, cracking jokes at Glitch's expense. You know, if I wanted constant reminders about oxygen levels, I'd just date an Alaran princess. Glitch responded, Captain, oxygen is essential for human survival, not a suggestion. Sure, Glitch. Next, you'll tell me to drink water and wear pants. Lyria laughed softly, her ears twitching. You humans have an interesting sense of humor. Jace smiled. It's a survival mechanism. As the station loomed closer, Jace felt a flicker of hope. The lonely stretch of space might soon be crowded with allies, plans, and maybe even answers. But he knew better than to expect a smooth ride. Brace yourself, Lyria warned, eyes narrowing. Our enemies are clever, and this journey will test us. Jace nodded. Good. I was getting bored anyway. Together, they plunged into the next chapter of their journey, a pilot and an alien princess bound by fate, humor, and a crate that might just change the course of the stars. The docking clamps hissed shut behind them, with a sound that reminded Jace of a reluctant handshake. Firm but not exactly welcoming. He glanced sideways at Lyria, whose long ears twitched in subtle rhythm, perhaps picking up the station's hidden frequencies, or maybe just the echoes of the less-than-sterile spaceport air. So, this is your safe harbor, huh? Jace asked, pulling a wrinkled glove from his hand and waving it theatrically. Looks like the kind of place where even the robots might ask for a bribe. Lyria smiled, a rare flash of humor breaking through her usual composure. Safe is a relative term, but it is our best chance. As they stepped onto the docking platform, the station's fluorescent lighting flickered overhead, bathing the corridors in a washed-out glow. Around them, crews of various species bustled, some human, others so alien, their very movements seemed like a dance to unheard rhythms. A robotic vendor hummed nearby, advertising synthetic snacks with a voice suspiciously like a late-night radio host. Jace shook his head. I swear, if one of those things offers me a hyper-caffeinated Nebula nut bar again, I'm demanding a refund. Lyria chuckled softly. Perhaps we should focus on finding your contact before you cause a diplomatic incident. Right, Jace said, pushing through the crowd with an exaggerated sigh. Let me just avoid bumping into a tentacle or two on the way. Their destination was a dimly lit lounge where whispers traveled faster than light signals, and every face carried secrets thicker than the station's recycled air. A tall figure waited near the bar, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk with a cybernetic implant. When she spotted Lyria, her posture relaxed just a fraction. Princess Lyria, the woman said, voice low but confident. It's been too long. Andre, Lyria replied, her long ears flattening slightly in a gesture Jace assumed was greeting or caution. Thank you for meeting us. Jace nudged her gently. Well, hello, Andre. Name's Jace, pilot and part-time expert in getting into trouble. Andre smirked, the corner of her mouth twitching upward. I've heard of you, not always in the best light. Jace winked. I prefer colorful reputation. The three settled into a secluded booth, where Andre pulled out a holopad displaying encrypted schematics and star charts. The regime's reach extends further than you know, she said. Their spies infiltrate even here. Lyria's eyes narrowed. Then time is against us. Exactly, Andre said. Your crate is a beacon to them. We've arranged for a discreet transfer to a trusted convoy, but the road is perilous. Jace raised an eyebrow. Perilous how? Space pirates? Rogue AI? Giant space slugs? Andre laughed, a rich sound like static electricity in a storm. All of the above, potentially. The holopad flickered, displaying a winding path through asteroid belts and plasma storms. Our window is narrow. You'll need to be sharp. Jace's grin widened. Sharp's my middle name? Well, you already knew that. Lyria folded her hands, her voice calm but resolute. We'll prepare immediately. Outside the lounge, the station's corridors hummed with activity. Jace and Lyria moved through them, exchanging quick glances and quiet jokes to keep the shadows at bay. So, Jace said, how do you like this place? Any tips for surviving without getting vaporized or lost? Lyria's long ears twitched thoughtfully. Stay close to allies, avoid the neon-lit alleys, and never trust a smiling robot. Noted. And the robot with the nebula nut bar? Probably the most trustworthy one. As night fell over the station, the stars outside twinkled cold and distant. Inside, the tension thickened, but so did the fragile bond between pilot and princess. Amidst alien customs, secret deals, and lurking dangers, their shared humor became a shield. Jace clapped Lyria on the shoulder. Ready to take on the galaxy's worst so we can get back to the quiet void? Lyria smiled, her long ears flicking once more in agreement. Together we are stronger than the sum of our fears. And so, with humor as their armor and hope as their guide, they stepped into the coming storm. Knowing the path ahead was uncertain, but far less lonely. Jace stared at the blinking console, the calm before the storm, or maybe the calm before the ship's coffee machine finally gave up on him. Either way, the silence in the cockpit felt heavy, charged with all the decisions that had led here. Lyria sat beside him, her long ears twitching with a kind of anticipation that only someone who's been a princess and an accidental smuggler could carry. We made it, she said quietly, against odds that were frankly ridiculous. Jace smirked. Ridiculous is kind of my specialty. He nudged a button, and the view on the main screen shifted, revealing the surface of Alaran Prime below, bright with the first light of dawn. Home sweet home, huh? Lyria nodded, her gaze fixed on the sprawling cityscape. And this time, it's for real. No more running, no more hiding. The crate sat secured behind them, its energy now stable, its purpose fulfilled. The device inside had been delivered to trusted hands, scientists and rebels working to dismantle the oppressive regime, not with blasters or bombs, but with technology that could unravel their control at a fundamental level. Jace rubbed the back of his neck. You know, I never thought I'd say this, but being a galactic courier with an alien princess isn't the worst job I've ever had. Lyria raised an eyebrow. Is there a worse job? Once had to fix a zero-gravity toilet on a mining rig. That was unforgettable. He laughed, shaking his head. But seriously, I've learned a lot on this trip. About trust, about courage, and about how to keep a straight face when your only companion has ears that could pick up a radio signal from 3 planets away. Lyria smiled, the faintest flicker of amusement in her eyes. You taught me a thing or two about humor, something I hadn't realized was missing until now. Guess we're good for each other, Jace said. You with your serious save the galaxy vibe, me with my tell bad jokes and pilot better routine. The ship's AI glitch piped up with its usual deadpan tone. Captain, the probability of success was statistically increased by your presence, and your jokes may have reduced stress levels by approximately 12.7%. Jace gave Glitch a mock salute. See? Even the AI's got my back. As the Artemis began its descent toward the planet, the tension that had gripped them since the journey's start loosened like a taut wire finally cut. The vast emptiness of space that once felt cold and unforgiving now seemed full of possibilities. Lyria reached out, her hand brushing Jace's. Thank you for not giving up, for staying when you could have walked away. Jace looked down at their hands, a warmth spreading through him. You know, I thought I was alone on this ship, but maybe being alone was just waiting for someone like you to show up. Lyria's ears twitched softly. And here I thought you'd say it was because of my stellar piloting skills. Those too, Jace said with a grin. Definitely those two. The Artemis touched down gently on the landing pad, the engines winding down in a soothing hum. The door slid open, and a breeze carrying the sense of a world worth fighting for drifted in. As they stepped out together, the galaxy's weight seemed lighter. They were no longer just a pilot and an alien princess thrown together by circumstance. They were partners, shaped by the journey, ready to face whatever came next. Jace looked up at the rising sun, then back at Lyria. So what's the plan? Save your planet? Rule the galaxy? Or maybe just find a decent cup of coffee? Lyria laughed, a clear, joyful sound that echoed through the morning air. First, coffee, then the galaxy. And with that, they walked forward, not as strangers bound by duty, but as friends bound by something far stronger, a shared story written across the stars.